Okay, kids. So we are going to look at the response to that prompt that we have read and we analyzed. And Sir Russell Fox is here with us. Hi, kids. And I'm going to read this response along. And what I want you to do, this is on a scale of 1 to 9, how they did. That's how the College Board scored these essays. So as I read along, you are going to make the determination whether you give it a 1, a 2, or 3, or 4, a 5, or 6, or 7, or 8, or 9. Okay? You straight with that, Sir Russell Fox? Makes sense to me. All right, so we're going to get started then. Now look, we have 3 essays. There's 2A, 2B, and 2C. Okay, and this is 2B right now, or not 2B. Let's just shut up. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to read along, and hopefully you can see it in other ones you seem to be able to handle looking at it. Rhetorical devices encourage the fight for rights. William Lippmann's article, "The Indispensable Opposition," is a criticism of society's failure to support political freedom and the freedom of speech in America. Lippmann's article is written with beautiful diction, artful syntax, examples, and appeals to the audience with the expert use of all of these rhetorical strategies. Lippmann truly displays the opposition in America over freedoms. What do you think so far, Sir Russell Fox? Well, it reads pretty good, but I think she should maybe steer away from things such as beautiful diction and not, say how wonderful it is. That's not really what this is about. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Lippmann's article is written in such a professional way. His word choice is complicated, but it isn't complicated to the point where it could be misunderstood. Through his words, he expresses his opinion that we, as the Americans, are not defending our rights of freedom of speech. To his opening sentence, he demonstrates, make sure I'm not in your way there, that Americans do not value political freedom as a necessity, but rather a noble idea. Throughout his entire work, he comes back to this idea and continues to support it with his words. What do you think so far? Yeah. Lippmann uses many variations of syntax in his writing to support his thesis. Parallelism is one of the many stylistic rhetorical devices that he uses. He lists many synonyms in his sentences to give the reader a greater understanding of his purpose. Some examples of his parallelism are its substantial, beneficial, and indispensable consequences, and are magnanimous, noble, and unselfish. Okay, so what are you thinking so far? Kind of listing a lot of things without necessarily saying why they work. Oh, boy, you have been paying attention. Oh, yeah. Okay, so Lippmann seems to split up many of his sentences. Okay, we've got to get to the next one here. So, what's that? Looks like a picture of a really handsome creature. This is my job. I have to do this, and you can't be messing around and putting slides in the middle of my PowerPoint. If you're going to be involved with this, you're going to have to behave and not be all silly. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. So, moving on. It's a successive clauses. His sentences are longer because of this, but he refrains from being repetitive. Lippmann uses one main example to support his thesis, a quote from Voltaire, expert satirist. Voltaire criticized many people in his writing during his lifetime, and therefore certainly believed in freedom of speech. His very famous quote, "I wholly disagree with what you say, but will defend to the death your right to say it," is the best quote that Lippmann could have chosen. From Voltaire's quote, Lippmann starts to appeal to the reader's emotions by explaining to them that they are not stepping up to the plate to defend their rights like they should be. The other appeal to emotion is when he says, we miss the whole point when we imagine that we tolerate the freedom of our political opponents as we tolerate a howling baby next door, or we put up with blasts from our neighbor radio because we are less peaceable to something than heave a brick through the window. This is almost a call to action. Lippmann becomes to stand up for our rights, freedoms, and everything else that our forefathers have fought and died for. Lippmann's article stirs up emotions inside the coldest of Americans. It hopes to raise that we need to stand up for our rights. Without his diction, syntax, examples, and appeals to the audience, his article wouldn't have been effective. Because freedom of discussion improves our own opinions, the liberties of other men are our own vital necessity, is one of the many effective sentences in Walter Lippmann's The Indispensable Opposition. Okay, so what do you think, Sir Russell Fox? What would you give this on a score of 1 to 9? Do I have to give an answer? I kind of want to see what the kids say. Oh, no, you're not in the class. I'm auditing it. Okay, well, that's fine. On a score of 1 to 9, this got a 5. Okay? Now, I'm going to read to you from the scorers, not from Mr. Breslin, why they scored it a 5. Can I read it? Yeah, go ahead. Okay, kids, this is for the essay you just read. Although this essay attempts to respond to the prompt by analyzing how Walter Lippmann develops his argument, it is limited and uneven in its analysis, and even misunderstands part of Lippmann's rationale for his position, believing he is specifically criticizing, quote, society's failure to support political freedom and the freedom of speech in America. Occasionally, the student does name and point to a rhetorical strategy employed by Lippmann, but does not go to further connect it to Lippmann's larger purpose for using that strategy. That's what I said. Yeah, I know. For example, I lost my place. Well, let's find it. For example, in the third paragraph, the student identifies the syntactical variations in Lippmann's sentences, but remarks only that Lippmann seems to split up many of his sentences into successive clauses. His sentences are longer because of this, but he refrains from being repetitive. In the fifth paragraph, the essay discusses Lippmann's perceived use of emotional appeal, but the student misrepresents Lippmann's argument, stating that Lippmann beckons us to stand up for our rights, freedoms, and everything else that our forefathers have fought and died for. Although not particularly sophisticated, the prose generally covers the student's ideas, and the student does succeed in identifying some of the rhetorical strategies Lippmann employs, but the attempts at analysis are limited and unconvincing, which held the essay to a score of 5. That's a score of 5 out of 9. And, that's passing, by the way. In the old scoring rubric, if you wrote 3 essays of 5 or better, you would pass for the test. Now it's a rubric of 1 to 6. And we're not even quite sure what you have to score in each one in order to pass. Anyway, this is getting a bit long, but I want you to hear this one. That particular essay scored a 5, passing, but not, that's about it. Well, thank you for helping me out there, Sir Russell Fox. I had nothing else going on today. Hey, have you seen the chicken anywhere? No, I haven't. Too bad. Yeah, whatever. Okay, kids.